Spence is building.
That's right. Game number 3 between TT Esports, WhiteRa and Millennium Stephano on Metropolis. And here we are in the game, and we're going to take a look at our Protoss player on the left side of the map in the red color, all the way from the Ukraine, representing TT Esports. It is WhiteRa. And up at the top of the map, in the pink, of course, the pink Power Ranger power, right?
Yes.
Representing Millennium, it is Stephano.
Now, you were mentioning close air positions, and lo and behold, what do we have but close air positions here, not spawning cross, so we'll see if either of these players designs a build to take advantage of that explicitly.
Yep. Now, the nice thing about this map, though, is that your natural is still farther away from your opponent, even if you do spawn in these close air positions, so it's not like you need to expand towards your opponent. That's never a good situation for Zerg. And so Stephano's still going to be, relatively safe here. The choke point is a little bit, let's take a look at that. Look at the choke by the narrow. It's kind of interesting, actually. It's relatively wide, except that there is some destructible debris there as well. So you can break through that, make it really, really wide. Otherwise, starting out, it's a little bit more narrow. So that's something to kind of consider if you're planning on doing some sort of early attack, of course. And that is
a gateway once again.
Yep. Gateway on that low ground, and you know what? That is actually a really nice place to wall off there for WhiteRa. It is pretty narrow, too.
Yes, it is. We're just talking about a similar sort of space, but
that's right.
Now, this gateway pressure has been something that WhiteRa's been doing the past couple of games, as a matter of fact. Stephano opening pretty standard still, spawning pool first, wants to make sure he's not going to die to any sort of cannon pressure right at the beginning of the game, but of course, there's been no threat of cannon pressure. It's been all gateways, and we'll see if Stephano starts to react to that as we move along in the show match.
We'll have to kind of wait and see, because I don't feel like the Zealot pressure is really working out for WhiteRa quite yet, so he may decide to switch things up a little. He's showing that gateway on the low ground to maybe get Stephano to think he's going to do it, but, he's already got it rallied over there, so, yeah, I think we're going to see the Zealot pressure again from WhiteRa, and Stephano, I don't know about this decision, man. I mean, Stephano's been handling this so perfectly every single game. He hasn't really even overmade Zerglings to handle it, too. He's just been really good against it, so a surprising decision from WhiteRa, but he's confident in his build orders, and there is no second Zealot queued up quite yet. I think we're going to see a Nexus. Yep, there we go.
Yes.
So yeah.
And the last time that we saw this on the last map on Antigua, you mentioned not overproducing Zerglings. Well, actually, to the point where he got his third base less than a minute after you normally would if you weren't taking any pressure at the beginning of the game. So Stephano really not taking any pressure whatsoever from that.
That's kind of how Zerg should be. You should always be like right on that edge. You kind of need to be, because you have to choose as a Zerg player between making worker units to gather resources or making offensive units to fight for you. So, if you're in the early game situation, you're trying to only make as many worker units as you possibly can. So if you can kind of cut the amount of offensive units to defend as low as possible, just barely ride that edge, then you'll have the best economy going into that longer game. And look at this, third hatchery already from Stephano up at the top of the map. So yeah, it will be that 3 hatchery build again, which, as I said, I feel like in the coming months in StarCraft 2, this is going to be almost exclusively the opening that we're going to see from Zerg players. It's so good.
It's getting pretty close to that, honestly. I'd say 85–90% of the games that I watch, that is the norm now. WhiteRa actually waiting until he gets a third Zealot to move off of the Xel'Naga Tower. Of course, he's just kind of posturing around now to make sure he doesn't take any pressure. Zerglings are just going to sneak on by, but there's already another Zealot sitting there waiting for them. So Probe goes down. One Zergling goes down. Is this a full wall? I don't believe it is.
Nope, doesn't look like it is. Oops, some Zerglings do get in, so they will be able to see what's going on in WhiteRa's base. And they see that there are cans being put down.
Yes.
See some probes doing their thing.
Now, you would say later than a little bit than normal, but this has been basically the time WhiteRa's gotten it with this specific build. He is attacking the third now, but a bunch of Zerglings are starting to swing on through.
Yep, so you should be able to defend that. Zealots, though, you can see they can kill quite a few Zerglings before they do go down. So Stephano, obviously still needing to make quite a few of them. WhiteRa now is actually chrono boosting his Nexus, is trying to get out a lot of probes rather than Zealots, and I wonder if we're going to see that +1 weapons right away, or if we're going to see some more tech from our Protoss player.
Well, we'll certainly find out in a second. Zergling did sneak on through, was killed by the probes, though, before WhiteRa took too much damage. He was able to dispatch that. And, you know, we were talking about Stephano not overreacting to this. He built a perfect number of Zerglings, still has enough that he can eventually take down this Zealot, and says, all right, I'm just going to walk right back into droning, and he's doing quite an effective job of that, now producing off of those 3 bases. The Zealot's still going to prove to be annoying as it'll go after the drones, but it's not going to kill them. Oh, look at that.
And look at that, pulling back one of the injured Zerglings, so he only loses 1 in all that. Nice job there. And you can see him taking out those rocks between the 2nd and the 3rd, too. And that's always quite important to do, just so you can get that creep spread through there.
All right, now taking a look back at WhiteRa's side of things, there's 3 more gateways coming. There's +1 weapons. And this time it's a little bit earlier 3rd gas and 1 fewer gateway, so we'll see if that is an indication of anything.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit more teching this game from WhiteRa. We haven't seen him go Stargate play quite yet, like I mentioned, so I wonder if we're going to see something like that. I'd love to see him do something like a +1 Zealot 4-gate attack, which has become relatively popular. He does have a pylon up near the top of the map as well, so actually, you know, +1's getting pretty close. I think we're actually going to see a Twilight Council from this. I think this is going to be +2 Blink. We'll see.
Yeah.
He's getting, he's up to 6 gateways total again, but I don't know.
Oh, there's a Robo, actually. So he's got a Robo appearing underneath the Nexus, so this is going back, again, it's a weird way to arrive at kind of the same conclusions.
Yeah.
This is what we saw on Daybreak, but of course he did open Nexus first in that variation, putting down the Forge and Gateway immediately afterwards. So,
right, exactly.
Well, Stephano, he's about ready to bust through those destructible debris. God, Zerglings take so long to clean up rocks.
I know. Well, it has, like, what, 3 armor, so yeah, the Zerglings do 2 damage each hit. That takes a while. Yeah, when it's got, like, 2,000 hit points.
Well, he does have a lot of roaches popping up, another 10 joining the 4 that are already on the field. And we'll see if he swings in any Zerglings after this. He is!
Yep, 3rd base going down for WhiteRa now. So I think we're going to see him kind of have to play more defensively here. He might start to pump some Immortals out of that robotics facility, and I think that would be a good decision if he does decide to do that. He's going to go for the Observer first, but there's a lot of roaches on the way for Stephano again. Looks like he's going to try to take WhiteRa down in a very similar manner to what we saw last game.
You know, there are a lot on the way, but Stephano was actually critically supply blocked. He had to put up 5 Overlords at the same time, and that may give WhiteRa the extra time he needs to warp in a couple of cycles more of units. We'll find out as there's a lot more units on the way.
Yeah, this is pretty scary from Stephano. He's taking a 4th base behind it, so he's not completely all in or anything like that. You can see he's making drones as well, so just trying to do some damage here. Not necessarily kill WhiteRa outright.
Pretty good force field control, though, from WhiteRa so far. We'll see if it's going to be good enough here. These sentries are actually in danger now. Yeah, 3 of them have already fallen. More are going down as well. Oh, the Zealots are actually zoned out by his own force fields, and he can't get in to attack the Roaches quite yet. And there's really nothing left on the field. Looks like Stephano may be able to take a very quick game number 3.
It's quite possible. I mean, at the very least, this 3rd base is dead by WhiteRa. I mean, Stephano is going to take it out easily. And there's a GG from WhiteRa. Wow, Stephano catching WhiteRa 2 games in a row now with that.
Yeah.
Yep, I think WhiteRa's definitely going to need to switch things up for game number 4.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I don't think there's any way that he can continue with that exact same strategy, especially